it's as soon as there is doubt in your mind, you don't have it's gone.
But that's the absolute nature of this, you see, because as you know, as he used the open hand and the clenched fist, in any moment, it's one or the other. There's nothing in between.
Yeah.
It's black and white. You see, so when that happens, you're there. There is no problem. There is no obstacle. What's your experience? Love, bliss, clarity, freedom, joy. It might not always be love bliss, like if if there's shit sitting the fan, but there's just radical acceptance of everything as it is. You know, your heart's able to bear whatever it is. Right? You with me? See, that's your experience, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Haven't we been in that on this retreat a lot? Right? Maybe even now? Right? Open hand, no problem. Ronaldo? See? But then the moment we see, because when we're free, you could say consciousness is turned out. You know, it's not really turned out because it's just what it is, but there's no self-reference. Do you remember that point is very powerful? You're saying, what if everything would continue to arise, but there is no I? So what does that mean? And then he went on to say, no self-referencing thought. Not no thought. Because a lot of people get this idea of be completely enlightened, you just... no mind.
Did you get that, Helder?
What was that?
No, on the camera.
Yeah, I was doing it. It's the enlightened vegetable. No mind. He didn't say no, he said no, not a single self-referential thought. So what does that mean? Self-referential means, and that's the myth of Narcissus, you see, that's or the image metaphor I use in my book, it's the whirlpool. Yeah? The eye turning in and reflecting on itself and creating this illusion of this immense complex well of subjectivity in here. Me and my life and my, you see? But when there's that moment of awakening, that is annihilated. And you're happy. That's why you're happy. That's why you're free. Because it's obliterated. It never was. You never were a person with your whole story. Never was, never was, never was. Do you know that Talking Heads song? Talking Heads did some pretty dharmic songs. Same as it ever was, same as it ever was. You know that one? Once in a lifetime. Do you know that one?
I know Talking Heads.
He goes, you may ask yourself, how do I work this? You may find yourself behind the wheel of a big automobile. You may ask yourself, am I right? Am I wrong? You may ask yourself, my God, what have I done? And then the chorus goes, same as it ever was, same as it ever was, same as it ever was. I think he's describing an experience of awakening. Like the ego's trying to figure out where am I going? How do I work this? And then you're just like, same as it ever was, same as I never was there to start with. You see, so that's the open hand. That's ever present. That is reality always. And then the moment, you see, we identify with a self-referential thought, because it only becomes self-referential when we identify with it. That's very important to understand, because otherwise there's no way out.
Yes.
Because you're going to have all kinds of thoughts, but it's when you take that to be I, and then What is there? Fear, doubt, self-concern, and all the rest of it.
Can I ask a question?
I just want to make sure we're finished with that. So do you see, in any moment, it's absolute, it's one or the other. But then, and that's the aspect of the direct path, you see? That's why it cuts, you're always cutting to the root. That's radical understanding. But then, of course, over time, the more that one opens to one's true nature, the more one learns about the self-contraction, the more one lets go of the fears, desires of the ego, right? Then one can observe a progression, a process in time.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just bam, you become fully enlightened, whatever that means, So do you see what?
Yeah, that's totally my experience.
Yeah, and then you see the whole, what you're all engaged in. What we're all engaged in is what's running the show. Is it this or is it this? Where is my center of gravity?
Yeah.
You see, where is it? Right, and of course, there are times when it's like, whoa, it's just flowing and I'm growing, and then a challenge comes. Bang, there you are again. Right? You see? So, and we're tested. This is why all the books all about the divine test, and as we go further, life will test us. It's the dynamic. It's the perfection of the process, and then more will be revealed. You see? That's why we have to keep the whole picture. Because if we go like, oh, I self-contracted again, and I've been doing this for 10 years, I might as well give up. You see? Then the ego's got you. Do you see what I mean? So it's having the picture of the process, that we're in a process, an awakening process, and at the same time, and you can just look over your shoulder to see how you're doing. And we can all do that for each other, can't we? We can look after each other's shoulder and say, look, yeah, there's progression, the awakening is happening, growth is happening. Or, nothing's really happened for a year or 6 months, right? And then that's when I have to kick some ass. But you have to keep these two aspects in mind. That's the point I made, is the process, right? And the radical immediacy. Where am I in this moment? And this is spiritual practice. This is what you should be living in every moment of every day. You see, if you're serious. Well, and you become more and more aware of when you fall into the contraction. That's it. That's 24/7. No vacation.